Kakbhushundi arrived under the banyan tree, closed his eyes, mentally invoked Sri Ram, and then began the story. Ravan had been killed, and his queen Mandodari was steeped in sorrow. But she did not blame Sri Ram for her husband's death. She knew that Ravan had been in the wrong, that his actions were wicked, that he had been proud and arrogant. Despite that, Ram had absorbed him into his own being. She marveled at how Ravan had been blessed with a state which even yogis found difficult to attain. Now, here a kite in the audience had a question. I don't understand how a wicked person like Ravan could be granted such an exalted status. Does that mean that you do not pay any price for your wickedness? You do pay a price, said Kakbhushundi. Before Ravan was killed, he saw his sons die one after another. He saw his brother die, his kingdom burnt. He saw himself being slowly and steadily defeated and cut down to size. All this, however, is at one level, the level of the ignorant jiva. At a higher level, at the level of the Atma, every being is pure, and the Atma is never tainted by the wicked deeds of the jiva. Because Ravan had focused his mind single-pointedly on Bhagwan, even though with enmity, Ram was in his thoughts all the time. And also he beheld Sri Ram before his eyes while dying. And the fruit of that was Bhagwan's ultimate grace and benevolence. The kite nodded. He needed to reflect on that. Continuing with his story, Kakbhushundi said that Sri Ram then directed Vibhishan to conduct the last rites of his brother. Sri Ram explained that enmity and rancor end with death. Ram, on his part, had never felt any enmity. It was only Ravan who had harbored such feelings, and that too had now come to an end. The purpose for which the battle had been fought was accomplished. Vibhishan was crowned king of Lanka. Sri Ram then praised the monkeys and told them that he was able to vanquish the enemy because of their might. Their fame, he declared, would spread throughout the world, and whoever sang of their glory with love would effortlessly cross over the ocean of worldly existence. Then Sri Ram sent Hanuman and Vibhishan to bring Sita Devi to him with all due honor and respect. He did not enter the city of Lanka himself because of his promise to his father. The 14 years were coming to an end, but they were not yet over. Vibhishan reached the Ashoka grove and instructed the Rakshasis guarding Sita Devi to bathe and dress her with beautiful clothes and jewels. She was seated in a decorated palanquin and brought to Sri Ram. The monkeys, bears, and others were delighted because they were all dying to see the person for whose sake Sri Ram had fought Ravan. After Sita Devi arrived, Sri Ram suddenly became very stern and serious. He asked Lakshman to light a fire in which Sita Devi would enter. Lakshman was horrified, but Sita Devi urged him to do his dharmic duty. Before entering the fire, Sita Devi declared that she had never thought of anyone other than Sri Ram, not even in her dreams. The fire, she said, was the witness of her purity, and she asked the fire to become cool as sandalwood for her if her devotion and loyalty were true. As she entered the fire, Agni Devta, the deity of fire, manifested and brought Sita out of the fire and gave her to Sri Ram, saying, "There is not the slightest doubt about her purity. Please accept her wholeheartedly." The anguish in Kakbhushundi's audience was palpable. But Kakbhushundi reassured them that there was another good reason for this Agni Pariksha, as the ordeal by fire is called. You will remember, he said, how earlier in the story, before Ram set off in pursuit of the golden deer, he had told Sita to place her true pure form in the safekeeping of fire and to retain only a reflection of her original self for the purpose of his Leela. Now Sri Ram wanted to dissolve that illusory form of Sita Devi, and he wanted her to regain her pristine form. Of course, this was a secret that remained between Sri Ram and Sita Devi. Outwardly, the Agni Pariksha was necessary because Sita would become queen, and since she had lived in Lanka as a prisoner of Ravan for so many months, people would, sometime or the other, question and talk about her. So that was the method in Treta Yuga to clear all doubts. Treta Yuga was a period when there was total abidance in dharma on the part of people. That is not the case today. Remember, said Kakbhushundi, despite Hanuman's tail being set on fire by the citizens of Lanka, it did not get burnt. Fire became cool for his sake. The important principle is that when an individual remains steadfast in fulfilling his personal dharma, whatever that dharma may be, then nature herself adapts her rules for the sake of such a dedicated individual, because he lives in complete harmony with nature. But did Sri Ram doubt Sita Devi? Asked the wise owl. Never, replied Kakbhushundi emphatically. Sri Ram very clearly stated that he had no doubt whatsoever about Sita's purity. Despite that, however, being the king, he had proved this publicly because it would not have been good for people to harbor any doubts. Seeing Sita Devi beside Sri Ram, everyone experienced the greatest of joy. Then Ram asked Indra Devta to bring the nectar that had been procured at the time of the churning of the ocean. Numerous bears and monkeys had been killed by the Rakshasa army, and they were lying on the battlefield. Sri Ram wanted Indra to restore them to life by sprinkling that nectar over them. Here the swan had a question. Could Sri Ram not have brought them back to life on his own? She honked. Of course he could, replied Kakbhushundi. Ram could have done that, merely wished that, and it would have happened. But when Indra expressed the desire to serve him, he made Indra responsible for bringing them back to life, and thereby he exalted Indra. Indra sprinkled the nectar on the lifeless bears and monkeys, and they came back to life. Getting up, they gathered near Sri Ram. But they came back to life because Sri Ram willed it so. Let us not forget that, said Kakbhushundi. But what about the dead Rakshasas? Asked the gentle little Bulbul. There were so many dead Rakshasas also lying about. Why did they not come back to life with the sprinkling of the nectar? They did not come back to life, said Kakbhushundi, because on beholding Sri Ram on the battlefield, their minds had got absorbed in him. Thus, all of them had already attained liberation. Their minds had dissolved in the absolute truth of Brahman. The monkeys and bears were partial manifestations of the various devtas, explained Kakbhushundi. They had only wanted devotion to the Supreme in his manifested form. So they were restored to life so that they could continue worshipping and enjoying the bliss of loving the Lord. That is Sagun Bhakti. Fully satisfied with this explanation, the birds bowed down to Kakbhushundi and flew away. There was so much to ponder over each evening.